It's Friday, April 5. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. The government has begun efforts to recover ownership of Venezuela's PDVSA 49% shares in Petrojam. Newly appointed Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology, Carol Palmer, said that the legislation to retake ownership has been in effect since February. Palmer told the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives Tuesday that the bill, the Compulsory Acquisition Shares in Petrojam Limited Act 2019, which was piloted through the House on February 19, became effective on February 22.
We are awaiting the expiration of a public notice of anyone who has interest that may wish to claim anything on it, so, to determine the final ownership.
Earlier this year, Prime Minister Andrew Holness piloted the bill through the lower house. He said that without an upgrade, Petrojam would be unable to further process heavy fuel oil into high-value products. And having lost a major customer in JPS, it would become unprofitable.
The refinery would become unprofitable to operate by virtue of inefficiencies, regular breakdowns, and increased spending on retooling and maintenance. Market conditions would obviously overtake the refinery if you're not making investments in it, and this would make it cheaper to import refined products rather than to refine them in the refinery here. If the government were to decide to keep the inefficient operations going, then what it would translate into, Mr. Speaker, would be higher prices for fuel, or if the government doesn't want to expose the consumer to higher prices, it would have to subsidize. Inevitably, subsidies or tax breaks would mean that the taxpayers would have to pay more taxes. So whichever way you cut it, keeping an inefficient refinery will cost the taxpayers of Jamaica more. In effect, Mr. Speaker, that is what we mean when we say, if you don't make an investment in the refinery to upgrade its capacity, its technology, or if we don't do something to divest it, or change the nature of its operation, Petrojam, in its current state, will become a fiscal risk to the government. In effect, it will become a call on the consumers of Jamaica's pockets.
He also cited the United States executive order dated August 24, 2017, which essentially prohibits United States persons from entering into specified transactions with the government of Venezuela and any political division, agency, or instrumentality thereof, including Venezuela's PDVSA, which he said was affecting the viability of the refinery. The Jamaica Labour Party's Marie Vaz is still basking in the afterglow of a stunning victory over the opposition People's National Party candidate Damien Crawford. In Thursday's by-election, Vaz amassed a total of 9,917 votes, 51%, over Crawford's 9,611. The Electoral Office of Jamaica says voter turnout was 53.7% of the 36,315 registered electors in the constituency. Vaz's victory represents a major upset for the PNP, which has held the constituency for the past 30 years. She also created history as the first female Member of Parliament to serve that constituency. She will join her husband, Daryl, who represents neighboring Portland Western constituency, in the House. Approximately $1.36 billion is budgeted for capital works at the Norman Manley International Airport, the NMIA, in Kingston by the Airports Authority of Jamaica during the current fiscal year. According to the 2019-2020 budget, Jamaica Public Body's estimates of review and expenditure, This forms part of the AAJ's execution of a 20-year capital development program at the facility, which is slated for completion by 2020-2021 fiscal year. According to a JIS report, consequent on relinquishing operational responsibilities for NMIA, the AAJ will this year focus its strategic priorities on establishing new organization and governance structures for improved airport system oversight and effective service delivery. The new organizational structure will focus on AAJ's effective execution of its functions as airport and concession managers and aviation and aerodrome developers. The entity's staff complement will, however, be reduced from 369 to 151 employees this year. Road fatalities involving motorcyclists are increasing at an alarming rate. According to Executive Director of the National Road Safety Council, Paula Fletcher, the implementation of the long-delayed Road Traffic Act is the first legal step towards a turnaround in that situation. Just 3 months into 2019, there have already been more than 100 road fatalities, 30 of which involve motorcycles. The NRSC director said this is a 100% increase in fatalities over last year's figure for the same period. She said currently only a learner's permit was required for persons to legally operate a motorcycle. However, it will be changed when new RTA comes into effect later this year, as the motorcyclists will have to be properly trained and certified to be allowed to use the road under the new legislation. President of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, Winston Lawson, is urging more of the city's business people to sign on to the government's National Closed Circuit Television Surveillance Program, Jamaica Eye. Mr. Lawson said the initiative can help put a significant dent in crime in St. James. Mr. Lawson was speaking at the Business Process Industry Association of Jamaica pre-conference mingle held recently at the Montego Bay Free Zone. He appealed to the business community to do more to bolster the work of the security forces in addressing crime through social interventions. Implemented in March 2018, Jamaica Eye is designed to network CCTV cameras owned by the government as well as accommodate feed from privately owned cameras. The devices are used to monitor public spaces, providing useful footage and effective response in relation to criminal activity, accidents, natural disasters, and other emergencies. A warning has been issued to people to desist from swimming in the Kingston Harbour due to the high level of pollution. Professor Mona Weber, marine biologist and ecologist, has said the water could pose health risks. Speaking at the Grace Kennedy annual lecture entitled Clean Kingston Harbour, held in St. Andrew on Wednesday, Professor Weber said the problem is caused by eutrophication. Eutrophication is when a body of water becomes overly enriched with minerals and nutrients which induce excessive growth of plants and algae. The US dollar on Thursday ended trading at Jamaican $128.19, up by 34 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange summary. The summary also says the Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $99.47, up from $94, while the British pound sterling ended trading at 165 Jamaican 37 cents, down from $166.14. In regional news, the Dean Barrow administration in Belize has been hit with a major setback in its efforts to hold a referendum on whether the country's long-standing border dispute with Guatemala be brought to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. On Wednesday, Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin granted the opposition, the People's United Party, an interim injunction blocking the government from holding the vote scheduled for next Wednesday. But the government has appealed. Senior counsel Eamon Courtley who represents the PUP, explained the judge's decision.
The Chief Justice has found that there is an arguable case that the procedure under which the referendum has been launched by the government may be irregular. We are satisfied that we have more than a good argument to make on it, and as a result of his concern as to the propriety of the referendum process, he has issued an injunction restraining the holding of the referendum on Wednesday. Under the Referendum Act, you can have a referendum on 4 bases. The first is a resolution of the National Assembly that says there's a matter of national importance and there should be a referendum on that. The government went under Section 2(1)(d), which provides that if there's a proposed settlement, that settlement be put to the people for their approval or their rejection. And I pointed out to the Chief Justice in arguments that there is no proposed settlement. And for there to be a settlement, you need to know the terms, and nobody knows the terms. So the CJ looked at that and said, no, hold on, there is no proposed settlement. So what is it that the people are voting on? They're voting on a dispute resolution mechanism going to the ICJ. Well, that is not provided for in the Referendum Act under Section 2(1)(d). What the Prime Minister has been running away from is exactly what the claimants have been demanding. If the Prime Minister wants to have this referendum lawfully, he should move the resolution, first of all, under Section 2(1)(a). But that requires a debate in the House of Representatives, and that resolution has to be passed. And it is quite obvious that he's afraid of it, and the reason he's afraid of it is because there are members in his House who are not going to come out publicly in the National Assembly and vote in support of what he wants to do.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Dean Barrow made his disappointment known at a press conference.
I am extremely disappointed by the ruling, but I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we may have lost a battle. We will absolutely win the war. My disappointment is, of course, based on the fact that there has been all this preparation, there has been the frenzied effort to get our people properly informed. There has been the tremendous hard work done by the referendum unit, by the public officers. There has been this intense, thoroughgoing, absolutely healthy debate. And if this judgment were to mean the end of the road, I would be absolutely furious at the fact that the people of this country would have been deprived of their opportunity to make a decision.
Trinidad and Tobago says it will not be following Barbados in instituting a gun amnesty. Speaking at a post-cabinet press briefing, National Security Minister Stuart Young explains why.
A gun amnesty works in certain countries and certain circumstances. We don't think that is applicable to Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, the guns are being used to carry out criminal enterprise. This is not, as in the old days, someone having a rusty old revolver with 2 rounds of ammunition. They're very sophisticated weapons that unfortunately are here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we don't think there's a benefit to a gun amnesty. We think persons will just bring in older guns, but those who are using the guns to commit crime in Trinidad and Tobago are not going to put down their guns.
In sports, Jamaica's national senior football team, the Reggae Boys, have fallen 2 places in the latest FIFA World Ranking, following back-to-back defeats in their last 2 assignments. The Jamaicans are now ranked 56th in the world after falling 2-0 to El Salvador in the CONCACAF Nations League on March 23 and 1-0 to Costa Rica in a friendly international 3 days later. Despite the slide, the Jamaicans are still the #1 ranked team in the Caribbean Football Union, followed by Curaçao, Trinidad and Tobago, 93, and Haiti, who's at 100, and Antigua and Barbuda at 123. The Reggae Boys also remain the 4th best placed team in the CONCACAF, that's the Confederation of North America, Central America and the Caribbean region, behind world number 18 ranked Mexico and the United States, who's at 24, and Costa Rica at 38. Approximately $1.36 billion is programmed by the Sports Development Foundation, SDF, for allocation during the 2019-2020 fiscal year. The sum, according to the 2019-2020 Jamaica Public Bodies Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure, is being provided for 6 areas, in keeping with the Foundation's mandate to develop the nation through sports. Approximately $1.36 billion is programmed by the Sports Development Foundation for allocation during the 2019-2020 fiscal year. The sum, according to the 2019-2020 Jamaica Public Bodies Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure, is being provided for 6 key areas, in keeping with the Foundation's mandate to develop the nation through sports. A large portion of the funds, $872.6 million, is earmarked for infrastructural projects, $238.2 million for national sports associations, $138.4 million special allocations, $44.1 million for track meets, $43.1 million for grants to government agencies, and $32.6 million for athletes' insurance and welfare. That's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Have a very, very pleasant weekend.